Tell a story. The ancient practice of storytelling handed down knowledge from one generation to the next. It is a wonderful way to pass on family traditions, histories, and long-told tales. It can also be entertaining as well as educational. A good story causes your brain to release a chemical that makes you more empathetic. A team of researchers in the United Kingdom found that brains of people who listened to character-driven stories released oxytocin, a chemical that is connected to feelings of love and empathy. Stories that use sensory details engage more parts of the brain than facts. Details that help the audience to see and experience the story from the character's point of view can engage the sensory motor, visual, auditory, and olfactory sections of the cortex. It's almost as if you were there too. More than half of all Hollywood movies follow essentially the same plot. Most successful movies follow a narrative known as the hero's journey. Scientists think that this narrative structure is deeply embedded into our collective psyche and may have helped our ancestors build trust and teach morality. Stories can activate an involuntary fight or flight response. Scientists found that people watching James Bond or similar action-packed movies had elevated breathing and heart rates, sweaty palms, and higher levels of stress hormones. Storytelling may be the only way to change someone's mind. Princeton researchers have argued that people tend to challenge arguments based on facts. Stories, on the other hand, can change behavior by stimulating the parts of the brain associated with empathy. Your brain ignores cliches. Overused phrases like a rough day or one in a million do not engage with the brains of listeners. The frontal cortex, the area of your brain responsible for experiencing emotions, can't be activated with these phrases. On the other hand, action words or sensory words engage with larger parts of the brain. We spend about half of our waking hours daydreaming, but when engaged in a good story, we pay attention. Attention is a scarce resource, fragmented, and hard to pin down. Yet a good story can cut through all the distraction and create an atmosphere of total focus. Reading fiction makes you a better person. A study found that people who read fiction are better able to understand and empathize with other people and to see the world from their perspective. This is likely another effect of oxytocin released by storytelling. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Storytelling humanizes your story because it reveals the person behind it. It is no longer just a story about an individual with fears, passions, vulnerabilities, struggles, and successes. A good story will capture the attention of your audience and hold it until the very end. Share a real experience. Think of some of the most successful stories. What do they have in common? They all tell a story that creates a narrative that allows their readers to experience what is written. Create a compelling narrative. Like any great story, effective content has an inciting incident, strong characters, a sense of action, and resolution. Incorporating your ideal will enable you to empathetically engage in valuable dialogue with your readers because you can play the role of your readers as they get acquainted with your story. Develop empathy with your narrative. In order to nurture the level of loyalty needed for long-term success, you have to make genuine connections with your readers at every touch point in your story and throughout the story's journey. Tell stories that share vulnerability, are sincere, and emotionally compelling. When your readers can empathize with your story, a strong emotional connection develops. Engage all senses in your storytelling. Like any good story, effective storytelling should paint a picture and become alive. Incorporate as many senses as possible in your story. Sight, smell, touch, sound, and evoke an emotional response. When your reader is fully immersed in the story you are telling them, they will experience it along with you. You will be in control of the experience, and the reader will follow you wherever you take them without hesitation. Think of your story as a conversation. When creating your story, imagine that your ideal readers are sitting in front of you and engage in a dialogue with them. Your story should feel like a naturally flowing conversation with your audience. When creating your story, consider: what questions might your reader ask? How would you respond? What real-life experience might the problem your story solve be like? Storytelling is the single most powerful way to build relationships between your readers and your story. Stories connect us, inform, and inspire. Because of that, effective content is all about mastering the art of storytelling. When you tell a story that resonates with your readers, a personal connection is created.